So hello everyone. I hope that you are all doing great today. I'm Patricia Paiva. I'm a senior manager of Kaizen Institute North America, and I will moderate in today's roundtable discussion on lean methodologies and continuous improvement. I think that we can all agree that we live in an evolving business landscape, and for that, we have to be flexible and rapidly adapted to everyday challenges, and continuous improvement can be essential for our organizational success. This roundtable provides a platform for our panelists to discuss the challenges, successes, and future trends in lean methodologies. We aim to explore how their organizations are leveraging the lean principles to streamline the processes, enhance performance, and foster a continuous improvement culture. Let's deep dive in this discussion and learn from their expertise. Hello, thank you all for joining us today. To start this roundtable and everyone gets to listen and know you better before we go through the questions, can I ask you to briefly introduce yourselves and your role driving the continuous improvement within your respective organizations? So Larry, maybe you would like to start?
Okay. Yes, my name's Larry Johnson. I'm actually a 40-year plus veteran of the food industry. Most recently, I was head of operational excellence for OFI, North American Operations, which is an international company that is in multiple business segments. I've also, in my previous career, worked with large corporations, Frito-Lay, Sara Lee, Dean Foods. I've worked with a couple of smaller organizations. One was a company called Fit Life Foods, which was a startup, which was all the way down to about 25 million. But it had some really great success stories there from a lean perspective because I had the full platform to work with. Over those 40 years, I've spent an equal amount of time and most of it's been in operations and in food and supply chain. About half of it has been dedicated as an OPEX leader for the organization. So, like I say, at this current time, I'm in an advisory role, working with Kaizen and supporting the lean efforts across several different platforms. So.
Thank you. And I'm sure that a lot of companies can use your advices from the expertise that you have throughout these years.
I've been discussing that with many companies now and looking forward to spreading the word.
Thank you. Paul, do you want to go next?
Sure. Paul Winkley, currently plant manager for Mallard Creek Polymers, which is a small family-owned company. I've been a little over 20 years in chemical manufacturing, multiple levels, from shift supervisor to maintenance plant engineer, production superintendent, and then plant manager in multiple locations, and different size companies from large conglomerates, true disciples of Lean Six Sigma manufacturing, to where I am now, which is a small family-owned company where a lot of people find themselves, obviously, during their career, some with varied backgrounds in Lean. I'm certainly a believer, and despite the long time continuous improvement mindset here, it's not been done in a formal way. So that's what I'm used to. That's what I like. So that's what I'm trying to bring to bear here.
Good, and I think that will be super interesting to learn how you're doing it. And Thomas, last but not least.
My name's Thomas Morris. I'm the Divisional Group Kaizen Manager at Multimatic. I've been in this role now just a little bit over a year. And I first started off Multimatic in a role, what was known as the Kaizen Champion. So I was there for around 3 to 4 months, just learning my ways of the Multimatic standards, the Multimatic processes. And then I had the opportunity to be promoted to the Divisional Group Kaizen Manager. So, of course, I love Kaizen. It's been something I've done for all my time. I've been in automotive nearly all of my career. I started off in a first-tier supplier of Toyota, which is where I developed all of my skills within TPS. So having all of this experience, I was there for 10 years. I'm now Multimatic nearly coming up to 2 years. So having all this experience, I've only lived and breathed only lean. So it's only ever been lean practices, lean methodologies. everything about Kaizen has been my bread and butter since I've started in my career. And I would say that I was very lucky to have some of the training that I did have with some Japanese senseis. They taught me on a one-to-one basis in TPS. So I was very lucky to have this skill. And now I get the opportunity as a divisional group Kaizen manager to be able to embed these systems and these practices that I learned within TPS, but also give it that multimatic fine tuning as well. So it's a great opportunity for me in my career. I love my job and I love everything to do with the lean. It's the best thing ever.
Right. And your international experience should be really enrichful for every challenge that you face.
Right, yeah, I as this position within the group, we have one division over in China, we have three in Canada, and we have one in the UK. So it's different people, different times, different days, all the time for me. So it's always exciting.
So talking about challenges, when organizations strive to streamline processes and enhance performance, they often encounter various challenges along the way. Do you want to share some of the key challenges that you have to overcome implementing lean practices? Paul,
Sure.
could you share some insights?
Sure. As I mentioned earlier, we're a small family-owned company, so resources are limited, which can be a good thing in some aspects. Everybody's participating, or nearly everybody's participating today. So, there's no perceived favoritism, or I'm never included. But we are dealing with an aging facility. There's been different waves of application and improved technology over the years, but it's not a continuous process here. Always looking for the latest and greatest place to apply new technology or a new way of thinking. So getting over that age of the facility. We've got a very new team here as well. So not a very deep knowledge base amongst the leadership specific to our processes, so to speak. Very, very smart bunch of people, and they bring to bear a lot of experience. But there's always nuances in a facility, especially when dealing with reactive chemistry. So all those things combined make it a little difficult. And our day-to-day jobs can get in the way when we don't have a dedicated department for continuous improvement or Kaizen. So changing the culture for it to be part of our job as opposed to pet projects going on all the day or all the time.
And it's like part of the daily routines everyone is also to do in Kaizen, but while we're changing it, as you said, it's a limited amount of people, so right. We only have the same resources. This is good.
Right.
Thomas, what about you?
I think one of the key challenges that I'm experiencing is getting that right balance of how much lean methodologies and how much Kaizen methodologies that we embed at the different levels. It would be nice in an ideal world that everyone at the top knew every process possible within lean and methodologies, and also everyone at the bottom knew lean and all of the methodologies that came with it. It would be nice to have that ideal world that everyone read from the same book, everyone had the same practices, and everyone did the same standards. But what we're starting to find is that everyone learns differently, and everyone within the business also don't need necessarily the right techniques or the right methodologies for their aspects within the business. So it's finding that right line, it's finding that right tuning within the business to make sure that everyone is getting the right experience, everyone's getting the right teaching method. So it is a challenge, but it's a great lesson along the way, because what we're learning is any situation within the company, we learn to adapt to their teaching needs and deliver whatever we need at that point within that level within the business, and it's becoming the most effective process. But it is challenging. Every day it's something new. Every day it's somebody different. It's a lot to learn for a lot of people, and we do have this fear. Some people don't like that cultural change. People are stuck in the ways, but one of the biggest bites that you get is when you show that people have learned and they've understood it, and then they've done it for themselves. people want that too. People want a piece of that. They want to be those type of people that are self-independent or also learning as they go. So it's challenging having everybody be different, but it's also good in its same way. So yeah, it's a great lesson along the way, I must say.
Yeah, that's great, and it's exciting when we can overcome some of the challenges that we encounter in the path.
Right, it is, yeah.
And from your perspective, Larry?
I'm going to build on Thomas and Paul's comments. All of those things, yes. And then the second one is, I think one is leadership. The leadership has to actually model the behaviors that you want. As soon as you have that first crisis, that first urgent thing, the old habits come in, and it's you get directing and all, and you don't use the processes or the MOS system that you may have put in place to help facilitate the activities. So one is helping leadership get some point where when triggers happen, they can stay within the MOS process. The other part is that I use MOS as a process, and then the way we used to do business kind of. And the challenge is getting to evolve where the MOS and the old way have become one. And that is just the one together. And as that happens, then you start having less reverting back to old habits. And those have to be reinforced, and you have to have a coaching system and a reinforcement to say, okay, how well did we do that? And that's a feedback system, and constantly being well. And then within that, you have to build the trust that when we're giving feedback, it's not because you're good or bad, it's because we want to make the process better. And then we do the assessments. The other thing that I see as a challenge is a lot of times we want to get the exact or perfect answers. And we have to make our best answers based on the day and the action, because we can get so much data and so much energy, we never make a decision. It's important to keep moving a little bit forward and highlighting each of those steps. And that doesn't mean we throw a cake party or an ice cream party and all that each time, but we bring the group and say, hey, great, we've moved here from level X to X, or we've made progress. But it's just taking time to change the habits so that the lean thinking and all becomes that. And within that, tying to what Thomas says, you use the tools to develop skills and develop people. And so as you start building that and people become more adapted at using the skills and more comfortable saying, can we try this, or will this work? Or as a coach, you have to ask questions, what might be a good tool we can use? In some cases, I've had it where the tool is, let's go over, we haven't trained in this, let's Google some tools and see what might be the one. And then that leads to a training session for a specific project, and you build skills that way. And the key thing that we've always done is that anytime we're trying or using a new skill, we have someone that is there being coached with the purpose that they can do it next time. And so I think those are the real challenges, and which leads back to the leadership team committing the time and energy. Everybody wants the results tomorrow and today, but the focus is making the process so that we eliminate the surprises or reduce the number of surprises. And I think that's the big key for the big challenge, is getting that working through, and then pulling your CEO aside and said, let's talk about how we could do that better. And sometimes they don't want to talk to you. So, but I think that's the biggest challenge, is modeling the behaviors you want, reinforcing the good, and coaching the challenges or the differences to where you can become better. So,
thank you for sharing. I completely agree with you. It's building relations and building rapport and trust among the different people. And something that we always say at the beginning is that for a lean cultural change to be succeed, we need leadership involvement, and leadership involvement.
Exactly.
And that's crucial because it's led by example. Despite the challenges, lean initiatives lead to significant success in some organizations. Would you like to share some success stories that had a significant impact on you and in your organization? Thomas, you want to start?
I would say one of my favorites here at Multimatic would be the time that we spent developing a team leader over in one of our Canadian divisions. Someone who was very nervous, who was very shy, who was, I turn up, I clock in, I clock out kind of person, but also had this eye for attention for detail. And you could see that, their day-to-day frustration about wanting change, you could see it within this person. And after spending about 3 months with them, teaching and coaching them, there's always a better way. Let's look at the different tools, what suits you, what doesn't suit you, rather than overburdening them with all of these massive skill sets that we have within Kaizen in our tool belt. We only were specific with the ones that we knew would suit them, and ones that were easy to coach and easy to understand. And next thing you know, this person was delivering a full Kaizen activity presentation from start to finish. They told the whole PDCA cycle to the senior management team of the story that they went through, involving a process that they then improved. Not only could you see that this person were able to improve the efficiency of the work center, but the person was so confident in what they were doing, they believed in it. You could see in them that this is the better way. Like, as a person, I want to do this all the time. I can see the benefits, I can see the results, I'm getting the benefits that I need. My workload is not so much anymore. And to be able to have someone deliver a presentation to the senior management team was a great thing to watch, and it was a great thing to see someone who was 3 months before, someone who was very shy, wouldn't approach no one, to someone who was fully able to deliver this presentation and with the confidence and the belief. And I think when you see that within a business and you see them seeing it for themselves, it's a great feeling. And I think that's what motivates us all when everyone's winning at the same time. It was a great story, and I will always remember it, because I remember it was night and day between this person. They were so different, but now I'm sure they're doing them every day. I'm sure they're doing their Kaizen events or activities every day with the most confidence, I'm sure.
That's great. When you see that change in someone, it's really amazing and powerful, the showing how this can be helpful for their daily basis.
Yeah.
Great, thank you for sharing. Larry, do you have any story that you'd like to share?
I've got, well, you know me, I'm a storyteller. So I've got several that I've got, but I'm just going to limit it to a couple. One of them is this was with a large corporation, it was a large bakery. And when I took over running the bakery, it was running 7 days a week. And you need to have cleaning, different things. And they were having really trouble meeting all the orders there. And basically, the process came in. I took the team, and a lot of this particular group, the supervisors and the shift managers, had zero to no lean experience. And so I introduced them to value stream mapping. And then I talked to them a little bit, and we introduced data. And I had them each work through how long their shifts should take. How long does it take to run the product? Let's go back. Let's look at our standards. Let's make sure we're right. If we're running this particular bread, it should take 20 minutes. Then and change over. And let's map it out and see how long it should take. And they both came back. It was kind of, actually, all three of them came back with the one was like, I should be doing this in half the time that it takes. The others were initially like, well, I'm doing as good as I can do. And then we started looking at, and after that one said half, we started educating and talking about, if you look at data and numbers and you got gaps in what should be in the other, what do we have to do? Long story short, we went from running 7 days a week to 5.5.
Oh.
We also took our changeovers from 30 minutes to 15 minutes. We had some technology that allowed us to do pan changes quickly in different pieces that we weren't using, that we started using. So we went from being last in the organization to first. It was such a dramatic change for that particular plant that they thought we were cheating, and they sent the accounting team in to audit us. And then when they couldn't find anything, it was almost like they were extremely disappointed. So long story short, that was a great success. The great part is a lot of people initially were used to working 7 days a week, so they were happy to have days off. Then later on, we had to start saying, where'd all the money go? Because they weren't working 7 days a week. But that was an easier problem to manage. So that was quite a bit there. A lot of education, something basic as a value stream map and relating to run rates, what we're actually doing, data collecting. And so that was good. The other quick one I've got was with a small company, $25 million company. We had two things that were coming in. When I went there, they needed to ship. They serve 17 stores. and they needed to get shipments out to really be on time. They need to leave by 7, 8 o'clock. They were leaving at midnight or later, and it was terrible. Now they were their own stores, so the complaints were kind of limited. That kind of de-emphasized the issue a little bit. But if customers came by in the morning, they didn't have product because it was fresh food. And so we went in there and we looked at the operation. They had a belt operation, but they had a lot of little SKUs. We changed to a cell operation, and we got the delivery times down to where basically trucks were loaded by 5 o'clock and going out. And the people started coming in working from 8 to 3:30 to prepare the plates and the dishes to send out. So that was a big success there. Once again, it was a lot of it was for the experienced technician, or practitioner of lean, you walk in and say, this is what we need to do. But to take the group to where they would come to that realization. And there were a lot of lucky things too. I had some colleague I'd worked with before had some sales stations that fit perfectly there, and we were able to take them off his hands, help him out. And but it was a big thing. And also facilitate the next step was direct store or direct delivery to homes, where we'd place it. People place the order on Friday, and we delivered their week's supply of meals on Sunday and Monday. And we added $8 million of business, which was a 33% increase. And we could accommodate it within the framework and still hit our delivery times. So those are my two highlights. There's been others, and both of those were on the productivity side, not the people side. But you can imagine that the satisfaction of winning at the end of the day, and that's what we emphasize. So.
And that's great, and they are good examples. So who is listening to us can feel related, because there are big companies and small companies, and then that's great. Thank you. And Paul, what from your side?
So I'll start with the numbers, and then come back around to the successes with the people, and then the unhappy accountants as well. We never seem to be happy. But we enlisted the Kaizen Institute, and after the first sprint, we went from a turnaround time between batches of 4.5 hours to just over 2 hours. Manual interventions where our people needed to bypass or skip steps, move steps along in our automation, from over 6 times a batch to just about 1 time a batch. And then our OEE increased from upper 60s to lower 80s across multiple weeks and months. So, all that, translated into a lot of personal satisfaction with hourly people that were participating, even and salaried people that were participating for the first time with a lean mindset and applying the tools. It really gave me the sense, and I think others as well, that we got over that initial hump where you have to sell to people, this idea that it doesn't have to be this hard, and working harder doesn't necessarily mean you're doing a better job. Making it easier every day, is possible. And then from the, I mentioned the accountants being unhappy as well. All of a sudden we weren't more than sold out, right? We were ahead of sales. So that really took the heat off of, myself as the plant leader and my team and the hourly folks, and put it back on the commercial team. So, they remained unhappy, the accountants, that is, but they were unhappy with somebody else. So, and everybody enjoyed that, at least in my case.
Yes.
That's great, and I think that some of the success, knowing better your case, was the participation of everyone's in all the events, and finding that balance between the work and the project itself. And talking about engagement, and we talk about this like one of the challenges that showed the benefits of engaging the entire organization, that we talk in the first question. Do you want to deep dive a little bit and share with us how do you share with everyone and engage in the participation in the different projects that you did? Do you want to start, Larry?
Well, I think for me personally, this is where having a good solid MOS process of working information flow up and down the system, and and then the other thing is the willingness and commitment to providing feedback, good, bad, and on actions. because when we come back in, everybody has an idea of how it can be done better, how it can be done easier. Some of them are a little more, I'll call it feasible from a cost perspective, and some are not. But I think it's very important to maintain the employee participation by answering questions, saying, if they toss out some things, having your idea of the words, having your pieces there, but having open discussion. And if an idea, it's like, we're not going to do that, it's okay to be honest, say the reason we're not going to do that is we don't have $2 million to invest and do that. But how can we, and engage them back in, so how can we, if we can't do this, what are other things we can do? And you kind of build the group there. The other part is the two types of recognition, individual and team recognition, encouragement also. Sometimes you have to take an individual and talk to them on the side, work with them and give them some specialized attention. The other pieces is the kind of the selling. I use sports a lot because I'm a big sports fan, is that the team wins together and loses together. Some people get the rewards, but no rewards happen if we don't win. And so that, I think that's the biggest part, is the feedback loop. And then within the MOS system, ensuring, when you have your floor meetings, that's where leadership has to be present on occasion, be relevant. And it's, nothing more impactful than the plant manager showing up at a shift startup meeting to say, I wanted to tell the group they've done a great job here. And, John, your idea on how we could better start up the line was awesome. I'm really looking forward to watching that today. And so those are the things there. And I think as a coach and a leader, you have to create the wins, because you want the plant manager or the person that you're asking to support to walk into a situation that there's going to be a positive situation. And because there's going to be plenty of times where they walk in and it's not going to be as positive, and you have to work a little harder. So I think that's having from the engagement is, once again, the honesty, the open conversation, the involvement, and the MOS that, as information goes up, make sure it comes down. And because as we're having a conversation today, when you ask a question, we'll get an answer today. Sometimes the floor answer might be a week or two, but make sure the answer happens there, that there is some feedback. And it's not just, I said an idea and it went away.
That makes sense. And that transparency helps to engage everyone and in a culture of no blame, no judge.
Yeah.
Good. And what's your perspective, Paul, since you're sharing that it's a smaller company? And
right. Our participation is a larger percentage than of the total group than other places. So, employee engagement was a little bit easier for us to tackle. That being said, I think we had some strategies around that still. Everybody has, the hourly workforce population typically has those that are more engaged or more outspoken. Mm-hmm. So we purposely picked some of those folks to join the team. One, because sometimes they're the hardest to convince that this is the way to go. But once they are, they're usually the ones that take the most ownership in what's going on the floor, as well as, they go forth and preach, this is what we're trying to do, and give it a shot, give it a try, and let's see what happens, as well as sharing those wins. And then, I found that in the second sprint here, we went and we tried to find more middle of the road people to broaden who's participating. But they've heard, they've seen. We did a lot of best practice daily management type activities. So everybody's seeing the work we're doing. We communicate those the numbers, the successes. But on a more holistic approach, in lean and continuous improvement, it's very easy to get bogged down into a "what have you done for me lately" feeling. So celebrating those wins, taking time, when something isn't working. I purposely point out to my team or anybody that'll listen. Let's look back at a year ago or 2 years ago, and remember how difficult it was and the struggle it was to meet this number, and look where we are today. So we feel down about our performance yesterday, but that was still above where we were on a daily basis a year ago. So celebrating wins is important, but also when you're in the trenches, taking a moment to step back and say, look where we are. It's a totally different place. Look at our standards have changed. Look how unsatisfied we are with how much better we're doing today. Otherwise, it's just the drudgery day after day, and you lose sight of where you've been.
Yeah, so that encouragement, it's important. Thank you. Thomas, how do you approach it? Is it equal in the different parts of the world, the same strategy?
Yeah, you wanted myself? Okay. Paul and Larry both touched on it a little bit, and the approach that you have at all different levels of your employee engagement are all very different. If you approach your operators or your second tier level of supervision, I find just turning up for them. Their everyday tasks that they go through every single day, every day-to-day management is pressure on them. So just being present for them, just giving them the opportunity to relieve some of their stress, some of their pressure to you, is also creating that employee engagement. Oh, okay, this guy he's listening. He can see and he can feel that the stress that I'm under with these problems on my day-to-day. To him, they're opportunities. So them having that support function, that you're there with them, you're listening to them, you're also rolling up your sleeves. You wanna help with them because you know that if you can get that partnership with them, involving any projects across the shop floor, it starts to become word of mouth. Oh, it's working for me, it'll work for you. And if it's working for you, it'll work for me. And it starts to spread that employee engagement within everyone because you've gone in the trenches with them and you're doing the firefighting with them and you're offering the tools to them that's making everyone's life more and more simpler. So, from that level, it's very important that you're there, you're present for them. When you approach your management and above, it's more about the deliverable methodologies. That's like taking control of the rhythm of the workplace. Is it more visual? Are you making it more stable? Is the positive movement toward a more efficient future factory? They want to have that buy-in. They want to see that what you're doing and what you're trying to coach and teach, it's also has it worked anywhere else? Is it going to work for us? Have you done the back data? They're very more visual to making their judgment. So when they see that both parties are working together in the same collaboration, it feels like everyone's winning together, everyone's moving together. So it's more about finding that fine tuning between both, that high level, senior level management and your ground forces of your operators and your supervision. So as long as everyone has a pick at it and you involve everyone and everyone gets their say, everyone has a voice, employee engagement, it seems to just naturally start to gel together, and the fostering of the culture happens naturally when everyone's talking about their wins.
Thank you for the sharing, and I completely agree. It's being together, it's being on the shop floor and showing and giving them the tools and the safety of how to do it.
Yeah.
My years of experience taught me that after the thrill of achieving the results that we're all excited about is how we sustain them. And building the sustainability of a continuous improvement culture is fundamental for the long-term success of it. Do you feel the same? How do you approach the sustainability of the projects that you have done? What about you, Paul? After the first sprint and now for the second, how do you feel about it?
So, that was discussed a lot here because it is a new process in a bunch of again new folks to the company, bringing their own backgrounds. How do we ensure that we sustain our progress? And I mean, the easiest thing to mention or point out is that we didn't walk away from those KPIs. We continued to measure them and keep them in front of us. They're part of our regular review. Is not just the new KPIs for the new sprint, but also those from the past. But again, those are the numbers, not the culture necessarily. In terms of culture, the whole exercise. We talk about training and the tools, but you also start to build a vocab that everybody's following, where and that's where leadership really drives the culture down to the floor, being present, asking questions, using the same words as is on the board, not getting confused or picking and choosing when to use the right terms, for lack of a better way to describe it. But it also shows when the CEO goes out on the floor, the owner goes out on the floor, and they're asking questions using the same terms, recognizing the improvement that's been made. It really shows everybody that it's important to everyone and the entire team. That's I certainly manage upward. When the CEO is coming around, I say, John, be sure to ask about this when you go in the control room. Point out that when you walk by it to the folks, because it's those little things that show everybody that it is important, and that's why we're concentrating on it.
Great. Yes, I completely agree. It shows the commitment of everyone. So, thank you. What about you, Thomas?
Okay, in Multimatic, we're always talking about Kaizen and Lean pretty much every day at all aspects of the business. It's that constant message to a standard, whether it's either a daily meeting that we have, whether it's a weekly touch point, whether it's a monthly report that we're creating. We're all still using that same terminology, like Paul said. We're always using that same consistent vocabulary book that we have, where it's okay, at least now, every level of communication from top to bottom is always following that same route. It's always the same message. And if we can maintain that consistent standard, then we'll never stray. And if we are starting to stray, it will stick out, like every other abnormality. You'll see when you're not sticking to that same standard. So it's important that we have that process. And within that, you'll also see when we celebrate a win, it goes up, no matter how small it is, it goes up that chain of command to the top. And that then sees the CEO, it sees your EVP, it sees your VP. They then see that, and it trails back down to the process. So it feels like then the win culture starts to encourage more, and the lean and Kaizen activities start to happen more often. So it's all about, that consistency, that same message that you're always sticking to. And whether it's at any point during the day, anytime during the year, we're always using that same method of communication.
Thank you. And Larry, did you agree? How do you approach the sustainability throughout your years of experience in the different companies?
Yeah, I want to build on Paul made a comment about the KPIs, and I think that's a very important part of it. And it becomes even more critical that the KPIs, you have the KPIs at different spots, but if the operator hits his KPI, hits the next level. And so you develop the terminology and use KPIs, and they're highly visible. You're either hitting them or not. And the way to do the culture is you do always center back in on the KPIs and focus then, and then you can go back. And that's also the way you build the culture, because if you're missing a KPI, you open it up for discussions on how do we need to get this information, or what do we need to do, or is there a way that there help? And you just help, it facilitates the whole continuous improvement process or mindset. And also the thing that's kind of another trigger on that is the KPIs can dictate, I like where Paul mentioned he managed upwards. That dictates the questions. And it's really one of the most powerful conversations I've seen in the organization is when the operator's KPI is discussed with the vice president's KPI and how they feed in and how they relate. And I think you build the culture that way. The KPIs can develop your script for maintaining and sustaining the culture. So,
thank you.
And reward, actually celebrating wins. I mean, highlighting it, because anytime you solve a problem in the day-to-day grind, I mean, we got through yesterday, we fixed something that was great today, and you have to call timeout, and say, hey, look, we just won the game. Now we're getting ready for next week. But what's the right amount of time to celebrate a victory? I don't know, but I sit there, it's whatever is appropriate to get you ready for the next day. So anyway, I think the KPI facilitation up and down the communication stream. I think Thomas mentioned that flow of data and that whole feedback. That's your whole guide for, in my opinion, for sustaining your culture.
Yes, thank you. Yes, summarizing some of the ideas that you shared for our listeners to be in sustainability, it's what you said, is the KPIs tracking that will give us an objective way to track this, and the commitment of everyone's in the organization of what we did, celebrating what we could achieve, and the consistency of following it throughout the standards that you also talk about helps to at least don't go back to where we were and start building from that, the next step, the next challenge, as you're sharing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Looking a little bit ahead, we talk that we are all the time evolving, and the landscape of continuous improvement and the businesses are changing. I would like to ask you, in your opinion, what are the future trends of the emergent challenges related with lean and continuous improvement within your industries? Thomas, do you want to provide us your insights about it?
So I can already see that future trends within automotive, the technologies that are coming through, it's exciting. The technology is rapidly advancing with the power of automation, especially in automotive. You know, we're seeing a lot of advanced technologies coming through, which is really optimizing the efficiency. And we're heavily starting to use a lot of robots within the industry. We're starting to use a lot of AGVs. You know, it's really starting to ramp up how advanced the technology is coming. My only fear really is that the understanding of lean and continuous improvement might start to get lost. It's so much easier now to see a process and think that we can get a product off the shelf that can solve that problem. Now, the unfortunate thing is not every business has infinite amounts of money. So the practice and the understanding, I feel, might get lost if we start to use too much advanced technology. I would hope that we can still keep that skill of understanding of why we're implementing power of automation, so that we can make that judgment then, do we need? And then it's a big difference when you don't spend money because you feel like you have to. You can come up with alternative solutions or alternative processes that can still give you the same results without that big, heavy cost coming through. So simple is the best, you know, understanding the process, understanding the product, the customer, the requirements. It doesn't always need that automation or advanced technology. It just needs to stop and why, with that little investment, that little change, but still make that huge difference.
Yeah, thank you. I agree. Sometimes putting another level of technology gives another complexity and doesn't solve the problem. It just makes it worse sometimes instead of better. Completely. I couldn't agree more with you. And Larry, what do you think that are the future trends and the emerging challenges within the lean manufacturing industries and the continuous improvement?
I think one thing I think here is that when you're making significant technology changes, I don't know, the rest of my colleagues have seen this. I've seen a lot of times we've gone in and put this high technology in that's going to go super duper fast. And guess what? The rest of the line can't keep up. So there's an importance in understanding your value stream as you go in. Technology is going to keep advancing. It's going to keep being added in, but all components of the operation have to be taken into consideration when you're upgrading technology. If it's from a speed perspective, you may take people out on the front end, but you may have twice as many on the back end, or feeding it to adjust the technology. So I think that it makes, my whole point of saying that is understanding your operations, your process. The lean thinking becomes even more critical, because you know, you can't, it should, in theory, if you're working, you've got your MOS system in place, you've got a good understanding of the value stream, you can project and understand how certain technological upgrades may impact the line, but positively or negatively. And I think that's the excitement of the bright new shiny toy. It may not necessarily give you the output that you want. So I think it's going to be more challenging. Tying on what Thomas said is that you can't, just because you got a big something bigger, faster, stronger, doesn't necessarily mean it's better. And so you don't lose, but understanding the fundamentals of what your line needs to do, what your outputs are, what your capabilities are, what the capacity of your equipment and your people are at the time, I think it makes it's going to be even more important. It's because, you know, another component of lean is proper utilization of capital. And if you're not doing the right analysis and have the right understanding, you're kind of cheating the whole process. So I think it's going to be lean, and understanding of it's more important than ever. And we just might have to get faster at getting our answers and our results to please the people that are providing the capital. So
Okay, we can use the technology in our advantage to get those answers quicker.
Right. Yes.
What's your perspective, Paul?
So the future of lean, and one of the challenges has been, at least recently, turnover, especially on the hourly front, but also in the engineering resources in a company. So applying technology and the anticipated gains from that are great, but will never remove the human element. And a lot of the lean principles are going to be the solution to that as well. Better training. There's a lot of technology coming on around that as well. But you really lose a lot of that tribal knowledge. Try as you might to document. Oftentimes things just don't look or sound normal. And that's often our most predictive maintenance tool, is our people on the floor and on the front line. And it'll be very hard to automate that out. So it's this turnover phenomenon. I saw a lot of nodding heads. I think we're all dealing with is going to be changing the way we approach everything. It's always a balance, especially. You want to give as much detail as possible, but people are not going to read a 30-page novel on how to do a simple task. So,
exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. And technology, digital transformation, automation are emerging and trending topics, as I think that sustainability is. How we approach, how we deal with it in our personal action, but also in the business world, how we operate and how we incorporate sustainability to drive our decisions as leaders, and especially related with environmental impact. Do you think that this is also changing your customers, that they care about? And I would like to ask your opinion about this topic and how you incorporate sustainability into the lean principles and how this contribute to the overall organization performance and competitiveness. Paul, do you want to discuss a little bit about sustainability and how this is integrated in Mother Creek?
Well, I think it is getting more important to our customers as well as our suppliers. We are asked, whether supplier surveys or customer surveys on a regular basis, there's different industry grading organizations out there. We belong to one, and we're asked, are we one, where are we graded today, and are we showing improvement? But to that end, I think lean and sustainability go hand in hand. I mean, it's all about removing waste, right? Not using any raw materials that you don't expect to turn into finished product. I know there are some processes where, machining, for instance, where there will always be some amount of material created where you will recycle it, or you're going to turn it back into the source material. But I think they go hand in hand. And I think very soon, customers may be asking in that same vein, what do you have a continuous improvement program? What is your scrap rate? And what does it really take for you to create your material? It's the best they can do without asking what our margin is, I think.
Yes. And then Thomas, how do you align the sustainability? Do you think that the concerns are the same across the world?
Yes, and touch a little bit on what Paul was saying just now. I think that customers are starting to be more involved from all levels across all parts of the world. Everyone, especially the different continents, are having their own, because no one really has that common understanding of what is sustainability. It's still new to everyone. So all parts of the world are having their own version or their own stab at it of what sustainable means. And what we're currently doing at Multimatic is that every level of activity that we do within our Kaizen events has some level of sustainability impact. And I'm a big fan of sustainability. I want to be able to create a better future for the future generations. I want to be able to have that culture that every step we're taking, not just from the Kaizen and Lean initiatives, but we're also looking at the greater good of the future as well. So where I can try and incorporate these sustainability into some of our initiatives. Things like space utilization, energy and power savings. These are big things that we like to look at. Can we reduce square footage of some of our machining equipment to reduce power consumption? Can we reduce supply containers? I know Paul just touched on suppliers a little bit, so we even speak to our suppliers. Can we reduce our totes space so that we're not using paid air? Can we optimize our truck capacity and our milk runs so there's less empty freight? These are just some of the things like, are we looking at creating our own sustainable energy? Are we using it in our manufacturing factories? These type of things is something that we can promote. So yes, we are looking at some of the events that we lead. Can they link in with sustainability? And most of them really do. So, they all give us that little bit of edge over our competitors when we can see that we're reducing the cost of our product, but we're still able to keep a good cost of that we sell. It really works in with that sustainability factor, and that gives us that edge. If we're very aware of some of our activities or having that sustainable impact, we can only promote it to our customers. So it gives us that edge over our competitors.
Okay, yeah, and it's completely in line with the running principles, because it's to use better our resources, is to be more effective in each role that it takes place. How do you think that this evolved throughout the years, Larry? What's your opinion?
I think when you go back to the basic fundamental of lean, it's eliminating waste.
Yeah.
And this is the whole, historically, we've always thought waste being what falls on the floor as it goes by or different things. This is just expanding waste to the entire supply chain. And I think that this is where you bring in your procurement teams, you bring in customers in some cases on both ends, and you start talking about packaging, you start talking about delivery and all, but it fits right in because sustainability is eliminating waste. I mean, it's like, how do we not return, I'll call it unusable stuff to the environment? And so I think it's, for me, it's an expansion of the 8 waste. I mean, they're all fundamentally the same, but you start looking at transportation, you start looking at space, even to our group, start looking at knowledge. I mean, we've got people on the procurement end that understand packaging and shipping materials and different things. We've got food scientists and all that understand that they can design a product to make it require a different thing to transport in. All of that's from a food perspective now. But it's, I think it's just sustainability is an expansion of the understanding the 8 waste, and the overall theme is eliminating waste for lean. And so it has a perfect place. It just, for me, it facilitates the expansion of the mindset to other departments a little more easy, because you can use that, you picture where can you impact these 8 waste. And you start, it's amazing what you see a procurement team, how creative, and next thing you know, they run the world. And so I think but that's something I think that you build off of. Once again, you've got another fundamental, and that's you're expanding to other organizations. So, and then the handling of it, obviously, when you've got, you want to have a plan to remove it from the line. And that plan has 2 components. One, do it most effectively way you can at the least possible cost. And also, if you get in the food industry, you've got to not risk contamination or issues that could be product related. So
bringing that awareness, it's important.
Yeah, but it all circles back to eliminating waste.
Yes, and being more sustainable and use that as a competitive advantage.
Yes.
We talked about before the turnover that we have, and keeping the people engaged within the industry. And with the pandemic, some of the environment changed, and the remote work became more relevant and something that people would like to, which I think that is a big challenge, especially in industry where we have to be at the plant. We need the people to be at the plant. How do you think that you may face this? How do you adapt the lean practices to maintain the productivity, the collaboration, and this remote work that people are demanding, facing in your organizations? Thomas, how do you adjust the lean practices to accommodate the remote work within the plants? How do you do it?
as I've said before, and as you all know, I speak to all different parts of the globe. So remote working for someone like me who has the luxury of being able to travel too, but sometimes not necessarily all the time. I cannot be in every part of the world at once. So some of the things that came out of lockdown were some really good technologies that suited remote working. Teams, Zooms, these were technology that existed, but never really was used or optimized like they are now. So things like you can use on your Teams is your interactive whiteboards. You can actually capture cloud data now with just a few clicks. So, remote working is it's difficult, but it's possible. So you can still have that element of teaching and coaching from anywhere on the world. It doesn't beat, being there on site, no doubt. That's the best way you can learn and absorb information at being at the place of work. But sometimes the situation that you're in does require that remote working. So with the lean principles, not everything has to be just textbook. You have to do a blend of both. Some of it is education, some of it is teaching, and then some of it is on-the-job training. So, it's that finding that fine tune with anyone. And I think that anyone who has a role that involves them coaching or being involved in any projects, there is technology that we can use now that can suit that remote working and use that lean methodologies as well as teaching. So, yeah, it's not something that is difficult, but it is possible.
And we are using now that technology to do this round table. Otherwise, it's
Exactly,
hard
right?
to coordinate the three
Let's
of
get a
us.
whiteboard up.
Larry, how do you implement these advantages for in a remote work setting within the industry?
This is one that's really tough for me because I am a big proponent of going to where the action's at, and I think that the what you really have to do here is get some clarity, and you got to have extreme clarity on what roles can work remotely and how they're going to work remotely to support the operation, because all roles aren't conducive to properly supporting the process, and that has to be understood because and there may be some ways around it, but if you're working on line projects, line promotion, and you're a day-to-day touch the product, you have to be on site. So getting clarity as a lean leader where I could actually, I share the example. I had 26 plants that when I was just recently with OLAM and trying to support those getting in, there's always something going on somewhere. So you have to become adept at using the tools, the Zoom or Teams is what we used here. But having that MOS that has a commonality and a speaking point, you can facilitate effectively and efficiently do that. But when you have to do specific events, specific trainings, there's a certain, to me, value that you have to be real careful. What you can't do everything remote. And I think that understanding the capability of the organization and the teams that you're dealing with, some of the trainings need to be on site. And the other part is being on site. You can teach on the screen here, but if you're in site, you can sense the room, you can sense who's getting it, you can see everybody's faces. Sometimes you have to come up with some mechanisms, either someone that's on site that can trigger to repeat this or give you some guides there. But you just have to have a really strong and a trusting organization to facilitate some activities remotely. But I am a big proponent, though, of being where the action's at. So, but I'm not opposed to it. But as a call it operations, just the way I was raised, that if there's dirt to be moved, you want the whole team moving the dirt because the pile disappears a lot quicker. So.
Thank you. I agree with you. I'm also a fan of being in person. But I just said something important is how to use this remote work, which help to overcome some of the issues that we may have due to this, because we have to interact with people, and it's different if we are in front of a screen or if you are in front of the other, actually.
Yeah.
Paul, how do you deal with it?
So, working in a plant, running a plant, my team, our mentality is one of facilitation. the people on the floor, success is our success. So it is very difficult to give a sense that you're in the rowboat with them if you're not on site. So, echoing similar comments to Thomas and Larry, it is very important that myself and my team are very visible and seen. Different departments, though, like a supply chain, interacting with suppliers, carriers, you can be very effective and maybe even more effective without the distractions of being in an office. So it's not that I'm not a believer in the shift in industry at large, but it's very difficult in a plant environment to allow or encourage remote work for myself or my team. But in a little different vein or approach, I've been on call for over 20 years. And early on, if you were on call and you had an issue, you got dressed, and you got in your car and you went into work and you rolled up your sleeves to help out with whatever the issue is. Now that has changed quite a bit with dashboards, connectivity with control systems. My engineering staff now, they can answer and address, diagnose a lot of issues just by walking out to their living room or their office at home. So it's not necessarily in the same theme of remote work as I think the question might have been intended, but I think there is opportunity to support more quickly than having to get in the car and go into the office to help out at the plant, but still supply the same level of support that the plant needs, the operators need. So again, maybe not in the theme of the intent of the question, but I think there is still technology to be utilized to support a plant in a remote facility or faculty.
Thank you. I really think that it's a great example. It's not the typical remote work, but it's taking advantage of the solutions that were developed that allows it to do a better job in that situation. So I think that's super pertinent. Okay, so we are getting to the end of our roundtable. Before we close, I would like to ask you to share a final summary of your vision for the future of Lean in your organization. Larry, do you like to start?
I think that Lean has to play a bigger role than ever in the future. We're going through so many, I know we're trying to keep this to a few sentences, but we're going through so many dynamic changes, and the change happens so fast that Lean has to be there to facilitate the reactions, because you don't want to just go and if you don't have a good structure, a good plan, good emphasis on Lean, the next thing you know, you're going to have a random system again. And so you need to be able to have a strong system that when you get these changes, you run it through, you just became more effective and better at solving problems quicker, moving things up and down the system. You just have to get better at it with the future and the demands that are on industry now.
Thank you. Paul?
So, the future of Lean here at Mallard Creek, we're still finding our way. We're very early in our travels here, our transformation. But one of the challenges that I'm facing with my team, and maybe I should have mentioned this earlier, is the sense that this culture, this program, is going to add nothing but bureaucracy. Another report to fill out, another board to write on, right? So it's not just applying the Lean principles in terms of how they're doing their work, but also the process should be Lean as well, right? And the culture should be Lean. And if we save 10 minutes of production time, but we've added 8 minutes of filling out a form, then it's really counterproductive. So counteracting a lot of those concerns with my team is going to be important going forward. But we're going to utilize some tried and true tools. we have a yearly goals process that we go through every year, and making sure that using some of that vocab and some of those KPIs as part of the incentive for people to keep the system going is going to be very important, I think.
Great, thank you. And Thomas, what's the final statement that you'd like to share with our listeners?
What I will see at Multimatic is I will see a global standard within the division, or whether it's within the whole of the company. I will see this global standard that will work like a muscle. Just like Larry and Paul said, is very much sticking to a standard that is recognized within the whole of the business. It's the same terminology, it's the same methodology, it's the same best practices that everyone can measure. And again, using those KPI principles that everyone can see that if there's anybody who starts to go above a KPI, then it's the new standard. It becomes the world's best practice. Anything that comes in from our customer and they start to say, okay, can you improve the standard? Now everyone's in standards are changing. And then the customer can see, okay, we recognize this as a global business. No matter where we visit, you all look the same. You're all doing the same. You're all sharing best practices. I want it to be like a working heartbeat, so that every time everyone's working at the same rhythm, the same pace, using the same processes, and it flexes like a muscle whenever there is a customer change or there is a change in the economy. I think that if we stay on that current roadmap that we're on, I think we'll be there.
Thank you. And thank you very much, all of you, Larry, Paul, and Thomas, and thank you for everyone that joined us today. I feel super grateful for having the opportunity to dynamize this roundtable with you and to learn from the valuable insights that you shared about the lean methodologies and the continuous improvement. You share a lot of interesting stories and experiences that I'm sure that everybody's gonna learn and take a lot of lessons learned and insights from you. So let's take our lessons learned and keep driving innovation in our organizations. We appreciate your time and look forward for future discussions. I hope you'll have a great day.
Thank you very much.